All right, Saints dominate on Sunday night. They will be home versus the San Francisco 49ers this Sunday afternoon. They opened up as 9.5-point favorites versus the 49ers. Nick Underhill is with us on Off the Bench every Tuesday talking Saints and NFL. That is compliments of former LSU Tiger and current attorney Chris Barrett. Nick, good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Was that a surprise to you on Sunday night, how dominant the Saints were over Tampa?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I thought they were going to go out there and play perhaps the best half of football that I've seen them play under Sean Payton. I can't remember a more dominant half, and the thing is they scored 31 and they fumbled on the goal line. It could have been more, and they could have ran that score up even more in the second half. They let off the pedal there probably. Well, right at the end of the third quarter. So, I mean, it wouldn't have been a shock if they scored 50 points the way that game was going if they hadn't taken Breeze out and went to the other guys. But, that's kind of the performance that we've been waiting to see out of them. When we were talking all summer about them having possibly one of the more talented rosters in the league, this is kind of what was envisioned. And, I think it's fair to say that the first half of the season, as far as execution, record-wise, statistically, on offense, I think a lot of this stuff is where it should be, but visually on offense and, always on defense, I think it would be fair to say that it was a little bit disappointing and definitely underwhelming. And I don't think this is what they're going to be the rest of the way. I don't think they're going to be, the greatest football team ever assembled every single week. That defense is going to have its variances and all that, but they showed that they know how to execute. They can stop shooting themselves in the foot. So, I do think this was a very important game for them just in terms of, belief in what they can do in resetting the stage for the second half of the season after, a weird off season and quite a while getting up to speed. But I think, we're at the point now where there's no more ifs or maybes or there's hedging. They've shown what they can do, and there should be an expectation that they should look like one of the best teams in the NFL every week.
Yeah, and if you look at this game defensively, Nick, and I loved your film breakdowns, by the way, on NewOrleans.Football. Everybody should go sign up if you want the best Saints coverage around. But, I mean, the star of the show was the defensive line. And all the old cliches about football, it all starts up front, et cetera, et cetera. Like, the reason why it looks so damn good is because you were getting home with four, and you were getting home with four consistently. I want to talk about David Onyemata. We spent a lot of time on Davenport yesterday, and obviously other guys get headlines, but David Onyemata played maybe the best game of his career. Like, what is his value to this defense? And did you come up with the Manitoba Baller nickname yourself?
I did in the moment. I came up with the Manitoba Baller.
Nice.
I watch a lot of horror movies. I don't know. It just kind of hit like a 70s horror movie guy. He's just out there mauling people from Manitoba. I don't know. But yeah, look, I think he's hugely important to this team. And when they signed him this offseason, the value of his contract was a little bit shocking to me. I didn't underestimate his ability, but I didn't think he was that valuable. But other teams were interested in him as well, and that's what they had to pay to keep him. And I think it makes a lot more sense now seeing him this year. I think everything's come together for him, the physical ability. I think he knows what he's doing now, and that might sound a little weird, but look, I mean, he's been playing football for American-style football for 4 years. He played football or college football in Canada, and the roles are a little bit different there. You aren't lined up directly over anybody, and you're playing a little bit more in space up there, where here things are more condensed, and you got to have plans and do things quickly. And I think the way he's rushing looks a little bit different, and he's really come into his own. And with Sheldon Rankins being out, he played a lot more yesterday or Sunday, and I think things came together for them as a whole. And I think him playing more could be something that's a benefit to this team in the way he opens things up. And look, he was getting after it himself. He had like 7 or 8 pressures himself, but even when he's not the guy getting there, the assists are there, and he's a big, set other guys up player. They stun it a lot at the backup guard. I think they went at him 7 or 8 times on stunts. He was often involved in those. They got 4 pressures off that backup guard, and you look at those plays, and he's central to that execution. So he's been a huge player for this team. I don't know if he gets talked about enough. He's the unsung hero of that defensive line for sure, though.
Yeah, and for everybody listening, that interior pressure, that's good for everybody because then that increases Hendrickson, Davenport, Jordan, everybody off of the edge. Maybe we'll circle back to D-line. But Nick, one name that was interestingly absent from your film breakdown was Mike Thomas. And I get it because, like, there were so many other big pieces to talk about. But what were your thoughts on Thomas in his first game back after missing time?
I thought he settled back in and looked like himself fairly quickly, especially on some of those third downs. I think having him, the value of him was evident. You know, he's one of the best players in the league, and it's funny because they went out there and they spread it around, and everybody got a touch, and it would have been a little bit I don't know, intellectually dishonest to come out of that and highlight him as the reason for the win. But I do think that subtly having him out there opens things up, and it just stretches things out for everybody else. Now you have Carlton Davis on him instead of Emmanuel Sanders, and then just the matchups work out a whole lot better for everybody. So even when he's not getting the ball, you kind of see the coverage rolling towards him a little bit. On some of those third downs, they bracketed him. So you got two guys on him, and now you got a one-on-one matchup for Marquez Callaway or whoever else Breeze was throwing the ball to, which was basically everybody on the roster. And that's why those things get created. So even when it's not him making 19 catches and, racking up all the yards and being the one guy on offense, everybody else eats because he's there. And, I just going forward, obviously he's going to get back to being the guy that gets targeted 9, 10, 11 times a game in the central piece of the offense. But look, I think they're going to be so much better the rest of the season because he was out and Breeze found out how to throw passes to all these other guys.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, you're going to see a more diversified attack, and probably more so. I don't know when the last time they were like that back in the prime years, but I mean, it's been a while since they've had a lot of options. I think they have a chance to even be better than they were with that 1 year with Mike Thomas, Brandon Cooks, Willie Snead, just because I just think that there's more consistency in the players in this offense fit the skill set of the quarterback better than they did in 2016 with those guys. So, I'm going to be encouraged to kind of see the development and how everybody comes along alongside Mike Thomas. But, I think he's going to be fine. There were some, fireworks, I think, behind the scenes, some hurt feelings. But getting out there, catching passes, he gets going. I think a lot of that stuff goes away. One of the things I was watching was how he just interacted with his teammates. And, there were a lot of high fives and hugs on the sidelines. Nothing looked weird there. It wasn't isolated. So, I do think that some of the talk while he was out was a little bit overblown. There was probably some truth to some of the friction and the reports of that. But I think, the stuff that painted it as being on the brink was maybe a little bit overblown. And I do think that just over time, playing the game, winning games, whatever's left, I think there's a real chance if there's any lingering, feelings anywhere that stuff goes away.
At Nick_Underhill on Twitter, NewOrleans.Football. Go sign up for the site. It is absolutely worth it. No ads in. You support Nick's work. Speaking of a more diversified attack, Nick, the thing that jumped out to me from your film review was your breakdown of Payton and his game plan and personnel groupings. How can you lay out to our listening audience just how impressive what you saw out of Sean Payton was?
I think one of the things they did, it was one of the more, this is getting real into the gritty details, but one of Sean's favorite plays is 52 all-go special X shallow cross. And it's a 3-by-2 route combination. And on the right side, out of an empty backfield, out of the right side, it's 3 vertical routes. And then on the left side, the innermost route crosses over, and then the outside route is another go route. And it's a play they run probably 3 or 4 times a year. Going back to 2017, I think if you tallied them up, it'd be like 13 or 14 times since then. And the success rate on it is just out of this world. But the first time they ran it, it was with Taysom at quarterback, and the defense was playing cover 0, no deep safety. They were cheating on him because, Taysom has set up this tendency all season to run, and he hasn't really been throwing a whole lot. And, especially out of this look, they set it up like this, and quite often he kind of drops back and then rolls out to the left side, and it's up the left sideline. And so they see the safeties cheating up, and they beat him with it. He throws a pass down the field. It's a big game to Jared Cook. You come back later in the game, Taysom's lined up a wide receiver, same route. This time it's against the zone coverage, which they typically get. When it's covered 2, the one inside route goes, it cuts in on a post instead of going vertical. So that's what he did. So he runs an option route out of the inside position on the right side, the 3-man side, and he catches a pass. And it's just the versatility of the player is just, it's unbelievable that you can throw a pass and run a route from the same passing concept, and it succeeds. And, you know, I think the frustration with Taysom that some people have, I get it. I think the way they were using him early in the season was a little bit too, I don't know, it wasn't expansive enough, and it was a little bit predictable. But I don't think, like, when that stuff's happening and the defense is like, oh, Taysom's out there and they cheat up and they stop the run, I don't think the solution is to pack it up and say, he should never do this again. And I get that this player in his role can't be someone who fumbles and costs you a game. I get all that, but I think when they're running this package and it's expansive and he's involved in a lot of layers of the offense and the plays, I don't know how to put it in a different way, but, you know, when Payton's using him well, I feel like the plays set up and they tell a story, and one thing leads into another, and they might do something this week, and 2 weeks from now you see how they build off it just to create a tendency to break it. When he's doing that with him, I think that's when Taysom has so much value to this offense, and it helps break the defense down and create things for either him or other people. And now there's all this stuff you got to prepare for. And I think this week, and, you know, as the season has gone on, I think they've done more of it. You know, I still think he's going to be a big part of the offense, and when it's working, it works really, really well.
I got 45 seconds. Where's Quan Alexander fit in?
He's going to play weak side linebacker. You know, I think, look, I'll just ask you, when's the last time you noticed the Saints linebacker besides DeMario Davis?
Yeah, yes.
Fair.
Okay,
Yes.
Question answered.
So,
Nick Underhill every Tuesday right here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Always. Nick
Thank you,
Underhill,
Nick.
compliments of former LSU Tiger and current attorney Chris Perrette as he breaks it down as good as anybody.
Yeah,
And
I
if
mean,
you
I
are
guess
not,
you're right. Like, when is Anzalone flashed
Seriously.
at all?
that's a great way to put it. I mean, yeah, I mean, if he just comes in and gives you any production, he's an upgrade, right?
Yeah.
We'll close at hour 2 next.
Off the bench with Colada and T-Bob.